Hello, 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 and welcome to SALTO Digital Spotlight. Now, if you clicked on the playlist saying SALTO Digital Dialogues and wondering what on earth this SALTO Digital Spotlight is, it is because we have done slight rebranding. So this is our webinar series aimed for the national agencies. So if you are looking for that, you are in the right place and very much welcome. Before I let our guest speakers present their topic for today, as always, we will go through a few basics on why we are here. So as I said, we are today in SALTO Digital Dialogues, which is hosted by SALTO Digital Resource Center. And my name is Juha Toivol-Kiviniemi, and as always, I will be your host today. A few basics about our sessions. So all of our content is aimed for the digital contact points in the national agencies of Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. But also very much welcome are any national agency staff or even European Commission staff who is interested on our topics, but also any interested stakeholders, program beneficiaries, or if you're just thinking, hey, these programs are interesting and I'd love to know more about the digital transformation priority, then you are very much welcome to listen in. Our goal here is to give viewpoints on how technology can be applied in the fields that we work in. So we work cross-sectorally, we work with all sectors in formal education as well as the youth sector. And we work with both programs, so European Solidarity Corps and Erasmus Plus. It's really easy to fall into the pitfall of talking only about technology itself, but what we try to do here is talk about the implications of that technology, and especially what added value it can bring to the work that we do. I'm really a nerd myself, so it can be easy to kind of just get excited about the technology because it's new and shiny. But here we try to keep focus on the implications on what that technology can do. And if you do find these kind of discussions relevant, please share the recording that is found on YouTube with anyone who is potentially interested, colleagues, friends, or even family, if you want to give them these kind of things. And new topics are always welcome. So if you know a fabulous project, a fabulous practice in the field, or just a fabulous speaker who is doing amazing stuff, give us a shout in the email that is on the screen right now. All right, with that, I will hand over the spotlight to our guest speakers, Kerstin and Marita. So please hop in and join the stream. Welcome, welcome. And I will, at this point, bow out and see you in the end.
Okay, thank you so much, Juha, for this nice introduction and the opportunity for us to present basically our main results of our Erasmus Plus InClass project, in which we try to put telepresence robots into schools and understand the issues and barriers better and how they can be overcome. So we were 7 partners altogether from Denmark, Latvia, Cyprus, Germany, Italy, and Romania, exactly. And oops, I can make this big. Yeah. So what we did in this project was to investigate telepresence robots. And the reason why we focused on telepresence robots is that they can provide numerous benefits for children who cannot participate in the classroom, for example, because of long-term illnesses. And these robots allow the kids to move around freely, to talk to whom they want to talk to look at what they want to look at, to participate in group work, to join social activities and other things. And thus they can reduce the negative effects of social isolation that these kids experience if they're at home all the time. So our project aimed to facilitate this process of implementing these telepresence robots in schools. And so our first task was to look at the resistances and obstacles that teachers, principals, parents, children may experience at school level. So from the perspective of the organization, but then also at what's happening inside the classroom. So to what extent the other kids in the classroom accept children on a telepresence robot. So what problems may arise, what benefits may there be, and what practices and workarounds emerge and turn out useful. But then also, how does it feel for the kid who is in quarantine or in the hospital or whatever, to how they perceive their situation. Then we also try to figure out what features telepresence robots have to really support their use in schools. And we also played around with telepresence robots to support intercultural exchange. So one thing that we did in this project was to identify scenarios of use in which telepresence robots can be useful. And so the scenario we started off from was the child with illness. Like this imaginary child, Leah, who with 14 years old has a brain tumor, has to undergo chemotherapy and can't go to school for a long time. Actually, the girl we were working with had to be at home for a year or out of class for a whole year. So the robot can help these children to be included in the classroom, to feel almost like a normal student, and to regain their popularity in the classroom, so that their visibility and presence in the classroom. But then telepresence robots have also been identified as relevant for children with anxiety. So like our example of Florence here, who experiences anxiety and therefore doesn't manage to go to school until she feels better. And while she's working with a professional to like overcome her anxieties, the telepresence robot can be a nice bridging technology to help her participate in the classroom, but without like being there. The third scenario that turned out to be really relevant is that many children have short-term absences that are still too long for them to like miss out very much. So, for example, when the children are traveling with their parents or go for tournaments or something. So there are several reasons for children to remain absent from class for quite a while, and so the children have the opportunity to like keep up with the class and with their education while they're away, and also relieves the teachers of the burden to keep that in mind all the time, and to like help them catch up with the homework and whatever. So then, as I already said, we explored to what extent telepresence robots can help foster intercultural exchange. So like, for example, when an English teacher in Spain brings in a group from Denmark or Latvia for the kids to speak English with each other as a lingua franca, and thus to motivate them and engage them in like this intercultural exchange. Yeah, and the fifth scenario that we have explored is a trip to a museum where the children just can use the telepresence robot to like basically explore a space like a museum all by themselves. So what have we done in this project? So we have taken telepresence robots into schools in all of our partner countries and have identified potential barriers and documented what problems might be arising, but then also identified best practice to overcome those problems, and developed solutions both in the lab and in the classroom to overcome the problems identified. So these are the robots we've tested. So we've worked with the Gobi robot, the Ubo, like 2 different Ubo robots, and the 3 robot in the different countries. And regarding the potential barriers and potential solutions, we have identified best practice for the communication between schools, parents, children, and medical institutions. Then we have identified best practice for how to manage the telepresence robots in schools and in the classroom, like from a very practical perspective. And finally, we have provided guidelines for what robots could be used for what purposes. So regarding best practice at school level, so it is really mandatory to educate the whole school community, to highlight success stories, benefits, and real cases, to convince everyone that it's worth the try, to develop a privacy policy based on participants or stakeholders' concerns in the school, but then also to assess the needs of the sick child in collaboration with the healthcare personnel, with the parents, and potentially other stakeholders. To budget in the telepresence robots introduction, because it does take a little bit of like effort and potentially costs. And then to train the teachers, the parents, and the co-students on the use of the robot, on classroom management strategies, on safety issues, and also on empathy building. So, for example, assigning a buddy in the classroom so that the person on the telepresence robot has someone to turn to and who looks out for them as well. Regarding the classroom, we found that it's useful if the teachers share their material with the students before the lesson, when they set clear goals and criteria for each activity, that they keep presentations short, structured, and varied, including group and pair work, where then the child has also the opportunity to like join different constellations. Then to integrate robot movement into the teaching process, so to make sure that if you want the robot to drive to the front, that there's also like the space to do so. Then conclude each session with a 5 to 10 minute wrap up and a farewell to the person on the telepresence robot. To use the robot buddies exercise to create more empathy from the other children towards the kid on the telepresence robot, and in general implement rules for classroom action. So, for example, not to throw their bags around because that makes it harder for the person on the telepresence robot to move around, or also to schedule who picks the robot up and moves it like for charging back to the charging station and things like that. Yep, then we have defined what features of the telepresence robots, of the technology itself, could make it more desirable to like go for the one robot than for the other. So instead of recommending the one model over another, we have a list of criteria that could be useful for principals or other stakeholders who are thinking of buying these robots, so that they can check what is really important and what they should watch out for. Yeah, so on top of these identified potential barriers and potential solutions and our best practice recommendations, we have also carried out several experiments regarding the perception of the telepresence robot operators and how they can be positively influenced. So basically how we can create more empathy towards the children on the telepresence robot to foster social inclusion. So one problem that we found is robot performance. So if the robot is shaky a little bit, so here we had the robot drive towards the participant in this video study, either slowly or slowly with a little bit of shakiness, or quite smoothly and quickly, and then asked participants how they perceive the robot operator, like what is the personality of the robot operator, who was of course the same person in all three videos. And it turned out that if the robot is slow, that people think that the robot operator is also more quiet, more depressed, more tense, more shy, more moody, less self-confident, but they rated him higher in assuming the best about people. compared to when the robot was moving fast. And when the robot shook a little and it was really very, very subtle, then our participant thought that the robot operator is more tense and irritable compared to the smooth and fast robot. So the properties of the robot carry over to what we perceive of as the personality of the robot operator, which can be bad news if the robot is actually not moving so smoothly. So in order to address such performance issues, we carried out a couple of studies, and also other prior work had shown that participants on telepresence robots tend to participate less and experience more difficulties and are most importantly more judged as less trustworthy than the co-located participants. And also local participants tend to show more dominance and feel more positively when they interact with a shorter robot. So the features of the robot really have an impact, and the fact that the participants are like not there, that they lack physical presence. So our solution was really to raise empathy towards these children, like the children on the telepresence robot operators. And the solution that we explored and found extremely effective was simply to ask the child on the robot what problems they're experiencing. So just this one question, how are you doing? What are the problems that you're coping with? Helps to make the person on the robot to be perceived as more trustworthy, and then also to for them to talk more, to contribute more, and also for the other students to come closer and to interact more. So let me show this briefly. So for example, participants' speaking contributions become more equal after the simple question, what problems the telepresence operator was struggling with. So here you can see how much the person on the telepresence robot was talking before and then after the intervention. So it's especially the person who speaks most tends to speak less, and the person on the telepresence robot gets to speak more. The same effect we found in another study where we had the robot asked a simple question, how the telepresence robot operator was doing. And here we measured how close people came. And so in the before the intervention, people really kept a long distance. So you can also see these bars here are the in the first part of the experiment before the question appeared, and then after the question, the distance in general became shorter, and the participants moved into a much smaller triangle. So we can say that our experimental results show that that it's quite easy to raise the empathy towards children on the telepresence robot, and that this can have considerable effects on their social inclusion. So, and now Marita is going to give you some examples from our case studies that we have carried out in Latvia.
Yes, thank you, Kerstin, so much for the introduction of the project. So I will talk a bit more about the cases. But first of all, I would like to stress out that for people who would like to do such a project or some other activities in their daily life, just to consider that, for instance, if you would like to cooperate with the hospitals, because we did it with the Children's Clinical Hospital in Latvia. So it was really, really important to get the authorization to carry out the study and also to carry out this GDPR regulations, according to the GDPR regulation, because all the data are quite sensitive. And just to let you know that it might not sound so easy to get the permission from, at least for us, as it was from the Ministry of the Health. So yes, first case that we found out was a girl. She was 11 years old at that time, and what we understood that despite the fact that the the main target audience in the project was a bit older youngsters. We tried with the younger one, and in fact, what I realized that even with the 11 years old child, it is possible to work, and it's possible to get this child back into the environment of the school, of course, with the help of parents. But if we speak about the classroom and the setup, yes, it was a bit challenging, but when the robot had to leave the school, even classmates said that they feel that this girl is already so into the classroom and into the environment that they felt really, really upset that the robot is leaving the classroom. That means that they already identified this robot as their classmate. And that means that, in fact, maybe in the first few days, youngsters might be disturbed that the robot is, driving around the classroom, and even maybe teachers might be disturbed. But afterwards, they feel that the robot is part of the class. So the second case that we found out was the youngster who went on a basketball camp. And as he was not able to participate in the lectures in the classroom, so he took an opportunity to do it via the robot. And as he admitted that it was quite interesting, and it was a bit different experience not to be in the classroom via, for instance, Zoom or Microsoft Teams, but exactly via robot, because you can move, you can turn around, and you can chat with classmates at the same time. So the next case was a boy after the car accident. It was also a bit challenging because first part of the case was from the hospital. So he was still in the hospital and tried to use the robot and study. Of course, what he admitted, that this robot allowed him to study and chat with classmates. And what was really important, that in this school we also assigned not one buddy, but even two buddies who took care of this robot. And what I felt, that they were so devoted to this work, that I'm the body of the robot, I'm the body of the Andrew, and they also perceive this robot as this robot as at the center. And what was interesting, that in this case they even put a jacket and also a scarf around the robot, so they feel that this guy is still in the classroom, not in the hospital or home, but like he's really, really present. And maybe the dresses, the coat and jacket or scarf or cap, it depends on the situation, helps youngsters to understand that it's not just a piece of metal, but it's a real robot, and that it's conveying their classmate through the screen. So, and the next case was an opportunity for one youngster to participate in the parliament elections in the school. So unfortunately, he was not able to be at that time in the school when the elections happened. So what we did, he took a part in the debates via robot. So he was in another in city, as far as I remember, and yes, so he ran his let's say pre-voting campaign via this robot. And what was really nice, in the end, he also won. So he was the president of the school, and this also gives an opportunity to be present and to speak with people and to give the message what they want, despite the fact that they are not physically present in the school. And also another case what we did, we brought a robot to the National Museum, and it was opportunity for people to walk around or drive around along the halls, and then just to check the exhibition, paintings and sculptures and everything. And our robot that we tested, it was really nice because there was an opportunity to zoom the screen, and the visibility was quite good. So as you can see, colleagues and people are just trying to, let's say, get the feeling of the museum and just, see the exhibition in the museum. Yes.
Yeah, so one of us has to to say the final words. So basically, what this slide says is that you can find all our case studies, everything like all the best practice guidelines, the experiments, the scientific work that we have done, the brochures and checklists, and also video tutorials on our website. And we also have a LinkedIn a page where we post regularly and facilitate some discussion around telepresence robots. Okay, then thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for this input. I do have a few questions for you. I feel like I could probe your thoughts on the topic for another half an hour, but let's not go quite that far. The first thing I want to ask, because I feel like the programs, Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Core alike, we are starting to see more and more, in my opinion, really pioneering work, something that hasn't been really done, at least not in the same way, in terms of digital transformation in society. So I wanted to ask, how aware are you? I'm sure you are aware of what is happening in the field. Like, are there a lot of actors testing these same kind of things? How common is this kind of approach, or are you really one of the pioneers here? From my viewpoint, you certainly are, but what is your view?
Yeah, so like on the scientific side, there is some work going on. It's not very much. There was kind of like in parallel to us, there was another project focusing on telepresence robots in schools, but they focused mostly on students with anxiety, and they also used a different type of robot, like a stationary one, which you just put on the table. So we thought it was important that the kids get the opportunity to move around, and so I think so from the in terms of the scope and also our focus on digital empathy and inclusion, there was no other project, or there is no other project in the world of that scope, I would say, and with a focus on like social presence, social inclusion, digital empathy.
Yes, exactly. I can totally agree with Kirsten, because I was also looking for projects, at least not even not a similar, but at least something to about the telepresence robots in Latvia, and I couldn't find anyone. So as far as I know, we were the pioneers, and therefore maybe people were at first quite skeptical about that. But of course, when you do the explanation work and show the examples and all our scenarios that we also had, it was already a bit easier. But still, that was really, really interesting.
It certainly sounds really interesting. That actually connects to the next question I would have to you. When you were implementing this project and kind of bringing these robots into the classroom, was there any resistance either from other stakeholders like parents, teachers, etc., or the students themselves? Or there are some that were kind of like, no, this feels weird, that I don't want to do this?
Yeah, frankly, there is a lot of resistance, and also sometimes for good reasons. So many situations for example, the school in Italy we were working with, they have not concrete, like a stone floor, and like very noisy environments. And basically, if you go with your robot through these environments, you just don't hear anything. It's just so noisy that it makes you completely fussy. So there was one student who basically refused to use the robot in that scenario because it was too much noise for her. So that's so the circumstances have to be considered. Then in Denmark, many schools rejected the telepresence robots. They said, so if a child is sick, they should stay home. That's it. So there was a lot of like resistance in that respect. That was easier in other countries. So basically, in all other partner countries, the schools often said, "Oh, this is great. This is novel. This is interesting." So they embraced this much more. That was not the case so much in Denmark, where the schools were also involved in many different projects often, and just didn't feel like adding to that as another burden. So that's how they perceived it. So there are preconceptions, there are also like privacy issues, but then regarding privacy, we found that as soon as there's a kid on the robot, people do not think about privacy anymore, because then it's the kid in school. You don't think about the environments anymore. But then, of course, it depends on the situation. So if you live in a one-room apartment and have like 3 siblings around, then it's perhaps not the best idea to have. So there's still things you can do about it, and like make sure that there's a screen behind the kid or so, so that people do not feel that the teacher can see them like their home, or also the other way around, that like the helicopter mothers are like controlling what the teacher is doing. So I think there may be concerns from both sides. So a little bit of trust building is necessary. So that's why I said educating the school community is really crucial, and like informing them of how it can go and showing them good cases, and really build a little bit of trust.
Yeah. Do you want to add something, Marita?
I can tell that I didn't feel resistance, but the only thing was, in fact, the only question that usually arises, am I going to be filmed and recorded? From the teacher's side, but otherwise, no, everyone was really welcoming me, and the idea of the robot, and in fact, the main thing that they were thinking about, that this kid on the other side of the robot will be able to learn, to study, to be present in the classroom, and at the same time, it's also an opportunity to socialize, not to be isolated at home. And I think that was the main thing why teachers said, yes, we do it, we go for it.
Mm-hmm. I would like to add to this, because I definitely need to get that message out. So first of all, the student that used our robot for half a year, the girl with the brain tumor, for her it was like a complete game changer. So she had tried to participate in the classroom on Zoom or other, like with a laptop before, and it did not work very well. But with the telepresence robot, it was. So she said, it's as if I'm there. Her mother said, it's as if she was in school. And also the other kids said, it's as if she was here. And they also talked about the robot as her. So who is going to get the girl? And not the robot from the charging. So, for her, it was really absolutely a game changer. And the Odense University Hospital school teachers who we were working with, so they teach children who are hospitalized for a longer time and provide them with education. And they said for the children, it's absolutely crucial to have this link back to their classroom, so that they can see where they're going. So while they're in the hospital and everyone is afraid that they might die, and so they just have this like living from moment to moment. But if they see their classroom, they know where they're going back to. So that was actually what impressed me the most in the interaction with them. And I think that's also an important message to the teachers, to make that possible for the children that they have in their classrooms.
Yeah, I found it really interesting listening to your input and what you said just now about for me, it's much clearer that sure, we should support something like these telepresence robots, because they enable the child or the student or the learner who is cut off from their normal community to still take part in that. And I really like that that enables them to be an active participant, so they can direct where they go and who they interact with and all these things. What I'm interested or curious about is, did you see, is there like a perceived level of empathy towards the child that is at home or in the hospital from their classmates? Is the empathy higher when they are using a telepresence robot versus a normal hybrid situation, laptop or Zoom or whatever that would be? I'm asking this because I'm thinking, could there be something to be learned from this empathy part that would be also transferable to, even if you don't have an access to a telepresence robot? Kind of a two-part question.
Yeah, so I mean, we cannot say to what extent children have more empathy towards the kid when it's on the laptop or on a telepresence robot or there in person. So what we found amazing is how easy it was to raise the empathy and to raise the level of trust into the telepresence robot operator. I mean, the bad news is that it needed to be raised so that children trusted the kid on the telepresence robot less if you don't do anything. But as soon as you make them visible and give them a chance to interact, then it was very easy to raise empathy towards the remote children. So that is actually a lesson that we can all learn, that sometimes what we need to do is very simple. Just ask someone how they are doing and how they're feeling.
Yeah. Marita, anything to add to that?
I agree with Kirsten here. And just to add, for instance, if we speak about the classroom setup, that if person is on laptop, it's not so easy to participate in the working groups because then teacher has to, move either computer, but if it's not a laptop, but the stationary one, it's not so easy to move it. So what I saw, that robot allowed to youngster to participate in a group work, and that other youngsters were, like giving the task more closer to the camera. And if, for instance, the noise and the noise in the classroom is too high, too loud, then they were, just moving more closer to the robot and, trying to, or in case it doesn't work, they send a message. So that also. But in fact, what I saw from the environment, that they felt like this robot is a real guy, a real person. And I think that this makes sense, that this robot makes more the feeling that it belongs to the classroom. It's not like, some kind of computer standing somewhere in a corner, but it's like it's part of our group. It's just nearby. So this is my, I don't know, classmate, or maybe, the guy who is just sitting next to me usually. But it gives a different feeling. And I think that this feeling makes them more empathetic to everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because you immediately become more visible as a person because you make choices. So you decide who to talk to and what to turn to and where to go to. So that's it creates plasticity around the operator, the person behind the screen.
Exactly. And if someone shouts from the back of the classroom, "Hey, Andrew, where are you?" You can just turn around and say, "Hey, I'm here."
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, I find this really, really fascinating also in terms of, like, I come from a youth work background myself, and I've worked a lot with youth participation. And my experience over the years is that young people have a very strong sense of social justice. They are by default very empathetic towards their peers, and they want everyone to have the best possible things often that they can have, right? But that doesn't release us as educators from the responsibility of actually highlighting that empathy and kind of supporting that. So what you're talking about, I feel, is really interesting here, and especially kind of fostering the attitude that it's not the robot that is there, but it's really the person that is on the other side of the robot. The robot is just a technological way of facilitating that process, and then as I kind of come full circle now from the intro where I said that we are not that interested about the technology, but the implications of that technology. And I think you are here in the very core of that. Is there anything you want to add? Because we are running out of time. So what do you want to end?
I can just add one more thing about this empathy, that if we compare two classes, for instance, where I let all youngsters from the classroom to try the robot, and the classroom where I didn't do that, I can tell honestly, the level of empathy was higher with the ones who tried the robot, because they understood how it's easy, or let's say not so easy, to navigate the robot, to understand and to hear through the robot what is happening in a classroom. So this is one really good point. If I know how that person on the other side feels, then I understand what I should and should not do. And this was really, really important point when I understood how to run and operate this robot and introduce the robot in the schools and in the classrooms.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for your very, very inspiring input. For sure, a lot to digest and also a lot to read on afterwards. So Kerstin and Marita, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And SALTO Digital Spotlight will continue on. 2 more sessions coming up until the summer, so stay tuned. Thank you for your time.